Oh, hey there, it's me, Pen. And in this episode of Paper Peculiar, I'm adding another entry to my Homage Journal, this time inspired by Dragana from Saacibo. Dragana is one of those wonderfully creative people who seems to find inspiration just about everywhere, whether she's working with paper, plants, or paint, or something completely unexpected. There's always a quiet sense of curiosity in the way she creates. I had a hard time deciding what I wanted to make for this entry because there are so many things she's inspired me to try. But I've decided to make a signature cover inspired by her tote bag folios. In that video, she glued paper napkins onto copy paper to create these charming little tote bags. She even offers a freebie template on her website if you'd like to make one for yourself. Before settling on today's version, I did a little experimentation of my own. This first one was made with coffee-dyed scrapbook paper. I didn't use Dragana's template, so it's a much simpler design, and you can see it turned out a little more boxy than I was hoping for. The scrapbook paper also cracked right down the middle. For my second attempt, I followed the template much more closely and added some stitching and a few brads, but as soon as I decided to give it a small spine, the scrapbook paper cracked again, even after scoring it carefully with the grain. So for today's project, I'm going back to Dragana's original idea and using paper napkins over regular copy paper. I have a nice stash of napkins that I picked up from a liquidation outlet. You can see these beautiful designs I selected. I'm also going to be using some paper that was gifted to me by my friend. It's pretty large paper, so it's going to work well for this project, for what I have planned, because I'm not going to use the template that Dragana has provided because I want to make the cover a little larger, because I want it to take up space in my Homage Journal. I don't want it to get lost inside. Anyway, before I get started, I want to show you that I'm also going to use this washi tape. Mr. Marlowe surprised me with it this week. He spotted it on his favorite auction site and bought it for me for absolutely no reason at all, which somehow makes it even more special. The bright colors and modern designs on the washi tape also happens to match the colors in the napkins, which works out perfectly for today's project. Okay, got my paper. Okay, this is me totally waffling because I want to incorporate these napkins. They're really pretty, but it's summer, so I should be using bright colors, right? I love this green. I love these lemons. I love the lemons. I love the green. I think, yeah, those go really together well. Here's the little trick for separating the layers of napkin, since I only want to use the top printed layer. It's definitely not something I came up with. I've picked it up watching other crafters. Just a small piece of tape onto one corner and gently pull. It usually separates the layers really easily. Some napkins need a little more patience because the layers are stuck together a bit more tightly. This one worked out pretty well though. See, these lemon ones, I have to be a little more careful because this second layer is quite stuck to the first layer. So I'm going to be patient and pull very slowly so as to not rip the top layer. As you can see, this layer still has faint ghost image of the lemons on it. Dragana has another video where she shows how to layer these leftover pieces together with starch to make what she calls vintage looking paper. It's a great way to use every part of the napkin instead of throwing these layers away. Voiceover Pen here. As usual, Mr. Marlowe and I are spending the weekend together. I'm crafting and he's gaming. I'm trying to lower the background volume in post-production, but my apologies if I leave a few bing sounds in. I have a nice stack of napkins separated. I've done a few extras just in case, and now I'm going to get ready to glue. Voiceover pen again. I found I just couldn't settle into my usual flow with this project. Dragana used a large-sized glue stick to attach the napkins, but you'll actually hear a conversation between Mr. Marlowe and me about that in just a second. I had muted my microphone, but my phone mic picked up the conversation anyway. I wonder if I have one of the thicker glue sticks left, because this is going to take me forever putting glue down. It's going to use a whole glue stick up. As you can see, covering an entire sheet this way took quite a while, so I decided to experiment with a few different glues to see which one would coat the paper the quickest and most evenly. In the end, I settled on a very generic glue, another liquidation store find that doesn't even have a brand name. It just says craft glue. It's clear, quite runny, but it spread really well over the paper. My flow is just off with this project. It took me a few tries to get the napkin position where I wanted it, and that feeling stayed with me through most of the project. After gluing quite a few napkins onto paper, I'd realized I'd overlooked one little detail. The main cover needed a finished front and back, so I went back and glued the green napkins onto the reverse side of the same sheet that already had the lemons on it. For this one extra page, I decided to try the glue stick trick again. Next, it was time to cut out the shape of the cover. Still feeling a little out of sorts, I tried using my paper slicer first, but it kept catching and tearing the napkin. Eventually, I abandoned that idea and just cut it by hand as straight as I could. After snipping the size to get it to what I wanted a number of times, which I've edited out, I made sure that a regular folded piece of paper for when I create my signature would fit in nicely. It was then time to round the corners. By this point, I finally found my groove, and it was time to make the pockets for the tote. As you can see, the glue stick did end up coming in handy after all. It worked perfectly for adding the trim to each of the pockets. For the handles, I used the tote I'd already made from Dragana's template and simply sketched the shape onto the back of the napkin. I'd been using this calendar page to protect my desk while gluing the other napkins, and rather than toss it aside, I decided to give it one more job by using it for the back of the handles. Next, I rounded the corners on the pockets. My corner rounder wasn't cooperating, so I finished the job with a pair of scissors. Just one more little reminder that this project really didn't want to make things easy for me. Next, it was time to add the washi tape accents. Besides adding a little color, they'll also help reinforce the tops of the pockets so they'll hold up better as tags and other bits are tucked in and out. Next, I moved on to inking around the lighter edges, not so much to age them, but just to give everything a little more definition. Then I took all of the pieces over to the sewing machine and stitched around them. While I was there, I also attached the larger outer pocket to the cover with a line of stitching. And of course, here I am, trimming off all those little threads afterwards. To secure the handles to the tote, I chose 4 really cute little green flower brads. They match the colors perfectly. But first, I glue the handles in place. Yeah, why did you think I go upstairs? Now that the glue is dry and I've marked where I want the brads, I grab my awl, or pokey tool, as everyone calls it, which is actually a pretty good description if you ask me. I also grabbed a little piece of styrofoam that I saved from some packaging to protect my desk from all the poking. Then it's just a matter of making the holes and adding the little flower brads. Since the back of the brads are green, you can see me fiddling with them to line them up with the green leaves on the napkin. I usually cover the backs of my brads with another piece of the project, but this time there really wasn't any need since they blended right in. Gluing pockets time. I'm making sure to really coat the thread from sewing with the glue. I find that helps to adhere the pockets to the projects. I debated adding a closure to this project, but I've decided I want to stay as true to Dragana's design as possible, so I'm making one. Okay, I want it a little thinner. I think I stayed pretty true to Dragana's original design while adapting it into a signature cover for my Homage Journal, and I can't wait to fill it with all the different elements she's inspired me to create. Since Dragana is so generous with her own freebies, I thought it would be fun to add another one to mine as well. This week, I've added a 2-page vintage printable set to my Ko-fi shop, if you'd like to grab it. Thanks for joining me during this Craft With Me session in honor of Dragana from Saacibo, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.